Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for being here. Ivy here. Let's see, just a quick visit to wish you all a happy new year. Hope you all had a lovely festive season. Lots going on in the background, but can't talk about it yet. Oh, that sounds mysterious. I like it. Let's see. Podcast due out on the 25th January. Flyer will be out next week. Grandson doing well, almost 3 weeks old. His two big brothers adore him. Love you all. Love you, Ivy. Thank you so much for being here. Hello, Ivy here. uh, hello, Ivy here. Oh, I think I lost it. I'm not able to do it so well. Let me try it again. Hello, Ivy here. Bye for now. Bye from Ivy. Bye. Oh, that needs some work. That needs some work. Paperwork to process, send out. I will soon be on here more frequently again. Have a good day, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Ivy, and thank you so much for saying hi. Always a pleasure. Let's see here. Hello, Ivy here. All right. Well, anyway, without any further ado, let's just get into it, shall we? Oh, and by the way, as always, thank you so much for being first, Vanessa Jones. Connie Bomber is a charmer. Hey, Heather Strout. I know you won't believe it, but I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I think I really overdid it during the Christmas time. I don't think I have the flu. I just probably have just kind of run myself down a bit. I have the sniffles, but I don't believe I'm sick. I just feel a bit, oh, how do I put it? Run down. Yeah, so I'm drinking some orange juice. I got some zinc and vitamin C around here somewhere. I'm gonna have to find that. And and just, try to sleep more, get more rest. You know what I mean? I pretty much slept most of the day today, and so I'm trying to catch up on it. Also, it's been kind of damp and cold, so maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but it's not like, oh, I don't think it's the flu. I don't think I have the flu. I still wear my face mask, so just so you guys know, I mostly wear my face mask. Um, and yeah, I take that precaution. Also, I'm a hand washer. Whenever I come in from outside, I always wash my hands first. Um, it's always a good idea, especially when you're out and about. When you come home, the first thing you ought to do is go and wash your hands. That can cut down a whole bunch of, you know, exposure, right? And of course, just, the basic sanitary stuff. It's not always a sneeze that gets you, it is making contact with surfaces that are unhygienic. Um, Sandra, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Anyway, let's get on with it. Let me get my face out of there. Oh, by the way, you guys, please remember Elaine Parker in your prayers. Um, Elaine wasn't feeling well, I hear, so We definitely want to lift up our sister beloved in prayer. Um, I'm going to have to make it a point so that I can come on early at least one of these days this week. Just in case. So, in case Elaine happens to be available, we'll get a chance to see her on Royal Sussex. But anyway, don't forget to pray for our sister beloved who's feeling a bit under the weather. And I tell you, you guys are prayer warriors because I have known of some extraordinary things because of your prayers. So do remember to do that. Okay. And here is an image of our Duchess that she posted on Instagram today. This is your sign to put the kettle on. You know what? I have that as ever peppermint tea. I bet you that will open up everything. I am going to have to make some peppermint tea. Yeah, I have some of that. And put some of that delicious as ever honey, which I have some of that too. Of course, I am going to shamelessly plug everything for the Duchess because, after all, it's the inspiration from our Duchess that makes this community possible. So I am definitely going to be here for. And check it out. This is your sign to put the kettle on. I got the lemon ginger tea too. I also have the lemon ginger. Gonna have to try that one. Yeah, you know what? Either one I bet would be great. And I still have some Connie Balmer Ricolas. Yes, Connie Balmer sent me like the ultimate supply of Ricolas, which I adore. I don't know what it is about Ricola, but I'm telling you that stuff really works, especially the lemon mint. That's a good one. That is a good one. Anytime you're under the weather, try the sugar-free lemon mint Ricola. Anyone who's that I've ever sent that to, they say, I don't know what it is, but I just felt better. So lemon mint, the sugar-free lemon mint Ricola. Very good when you're trying to clear everything out when you have like the sniffles or something like that, or if you have a sore throat. Very soothing. Very soothing. Oh, okay. The lemon ginger with a little Ray and nephew. Uh what does that mean? What am I missing about that one? What does that mean? Uh okay. All right. And also I have the number, what is it? The 519 candle. That one has the mint in it. And I tell you, when I burned that candle, I don't know, I just felt a sense of well-being. I guess the mint, um, you know, kind of did something. I don't know, but I love that 518. Also, I'm going to tell you guys again, when you're done with your candle vessel, you're supposed to keep that it's terracotta, or you know, it's a terracotta vessel that the candles come in. When you're all the way down to the bottom, right? Take some paper towels and just jam it down in there to absorb all of that wax, that little thin level of wax that's left over. When you just can't burn the candle anymore, you put it down in there and you absorb all of that wax, right? And then discard it, making sure that, of course, it's not, burning or anything. You want to blow the flame out first. but you know that. And then when you're done with that, you want to take another paper towel just to wipe up the last of the excess and then clean it. Clean it because it's going to get a little soot on it from the candle. I used baking soda to clean mine. A little soapy water first, and then I took a damp cloth with some baking soda and scrubbed it really good and got all of that soot out of it. And then what's left is absolutely beautiful. It's a great container for a candle or vessel, if you will, a vase. I love those though. So I got two. I have two that I have completed already. And I got a third one on the way because I'm burning another candle this week. So yeah, those are great. Very collectible. I mean, you can buy some candles sometimes and the container that it's comes with is not very impressive. This one is beautiful. So, all right, moving on. Hey, legs. Oh, let me see here. Continue. Now, inside the flawed method used to reveal Meghan Sussex as ever inventory. Guys, I did not want to talk about this one because I'm just like, oh, here we go again. If these people were to use the talents that they have to make up stuff, they could probably write scripts for Hollywood or something. They just make up stuff. Um, but let's get to this one because we really need to put this one to rest. Excuse me. So it says here the claim that As Ever online shop accidentally revealed Meghan Sussex inventory spread rapidly across social media, driven by accounts primed for scandal. It rests on a Reddit tactic, the social media Reddit tactic that misreads cart quantity limits as evidence of back in stock levels, right? Newsweek amplified the interpretation and Jack Royston presented it as confirmation. The failure lies in method, evidence, and editorial responsibility. Now, as for Jack Royston, here it is. This is what Jack Royston says. This appears to have yielded broadly accurate tallies of Meghan's stock across her range of products. Newsweek has confirmed, and the figures add up to 21.8 million at sale price, not cost, for 650,190 products. Her costs will, of course, have been lower as the sales price is intended to include profit. The data came out after one critic of the Duchess realized they could add a number, that is, an unlimited number of each As Ever product to the cart, and website would simply reduce the number at checkout to the total stock. Jack Royston, Newsweek. Lex says, you see the article that shows Meghan sold 1 million jars. Yes, by the way, that is true. There was one article that mentioned that our Duchess sold over 1 million jars of jam, or preserves rather. Thank you so much for that, Legs. Great reminder. That is very important. So, that, of course, came from Jack Royston of Newsweek. By the way, you guys, speaking of Newsweek, I'm like, who's going to tell her? Who is going to tell her? Maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't. There is a content creator I don't want to say the name of this content creator because I really respect the work that she does, but she cited Newsweek as a credible source for one of the subjects that she spoke about. And I'm just like, does she not know that Newsweek is owned by Rupert Murdoch? Is she not aware that Newsweek has not been Newsweek for years, right? The presence of Jack Royston at Newsweek lets you know that it is a trashy magazine. And see, I hate to, get off track here, but I didn't want to forget to mention this. So if you know who I'm talking about, please do not name that content creator. She's not a squatty. She talks about a variety of issues. And she said that Newsweek would not report this if they didn't cite this or this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is why they purchased Newsweek, because it comes with so much credibility. But by the time the Rupert Murdoch press is done with it, it is simply another gossip rag. And I'm like, if there was just some way to say something to her, but I'm not. I'm going to just leave it alone because I don't know her like that. But citing Newsweek as credible, they have their moments. And anyway, I'm sorry. I had to say something about that. That was very frustrating to me. Oh my God. That poor lady. I'm like, who's going to tell her? Somebody's got to tell her. Newsweek ain't Newsweek no more. Anyway, back to this thing. The method fails basic e-commerce test. Reddit approach relies that is on adding extreme quantities to the cart and reading the result error as inventory disclosure. That logic collapses under routine e-commerce practice. Retail platforms impose quantity caps to prevent fraud, manage fulfillment, and route wholesale inquiries. Those caps vary by product. A cart, a cart message that reduces quantity reflects a rule, not a warehouse count. Right? But because so many people would rather believe the worst, you know what I'm saying? There are so many people who would rather believe the worst. I kind of believe that an explanation like this would fall on deaf ears. But anyway, let me show you this. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it is from that person on Reddit who seems to have started a firestorm. Meghan making yet another mistake by not selling organic products, right? That's the thread that it's under. So this person, excuse me, says, I'm not sure that she cares to eat organic at home when she orders takeout and plates it beautifully. So just to give you an idea of the kind of crap that comes through this thing. I made a fake order on was never instead of as ever, was never, and figured out her exact inventory of products. I pretended to order 200,000 of the orange marmalade and was told only 44,612 were added to my cart based on availability. I did the same with every product, and here's the current unsold inventory. Fake order deleted, obviously. So this person did not order these products. So they put in the maximum, well, they put in a large order for the fruit spread trio, 44,960 is what they say was available. Now, I don't know if the website said available or if this person just listed available. You understand what I'm saying? Fruit spread trio box, 137,465 in stock. Is that what this person is saying, or is that what the website had to say? Again, I don't know how they came about this. And it goes on, um, all the way down to the wooden crate single bottle, where there's about 2,000 of those. Okay. Um, okay. Leg says here, don't fail. I'm sorry, don't fall for the British press's narrative. Anytime I hear it could be the first time King Charles III sees Harry and Meghan's kids in years, I say he could have seen them earlier if he didn't steal their home and care about their skin color. Hell yes. That is so true. Who was the reporter? It was one of the reporters that said uh, that the Sussexes would have had a secure place to stay if Charles hadn't kicked them out of their home. That would have been a secure place to stay. And they were like making a thing about, I think the palace had offered Harry to stay at one of the royal residences. And Harry was like, oh, no, that's okay, boo. I'm staying at the hotel. I think it's safer. And given the fact that there has been intruders, this is why I say, you guys, please trust Harry. Please trust him. Um, as you can see, they have had issues with intruders in the past. Now, that is not to say that there was something about that situation at Kensington Palace. I think if the same person came back twice, it sounds more like a jilted lover than an intruder, especially seeing that they had a knapsack with them. So I don't know if that was really an incident, but I'm just saying it seems like some of the royal residents are rather porous, if you know what I mean. So thank you again, Lex, for the super chat. All right. So it continues here. Okay. So, yes, it says that Reddit account, subreddit function as a uh, dedicated anti Meghan forum where users obviously search for fault, recycle speculation as fact, and frame routine business practices as scandal. So, yeah, that particular Reddit group is all about going after Meghan. There's no objectivity there. There's probably very little integrity there. It is Operation Get Meghan Sussex. That's the whole point of that. It must be bizarre to have that type of hostility brewing out there somewhere. That has got to be the strangest thing. The article continues publicly. What is that? Publicly replicable testing shows this clearly as different items accept different maximums. Some reset to a lower number, others trigger a prompt to contact support for bulk orders. None of this exposes stock on hand. It exposes website guardrails. If a single method produced exact inventory, it would behave consistently across products. It does not. The Reddit post also assumes the scale price equals the invested capital. That conflates retail value with costs. Brands price for margin, distribution, and marketing, treating a list price as cash outlay inflates figures by design. That leap from a cart cap to a dollar total stacks assumptions on top of assumptions. You tell them, Feminagra, what Newsweek verified and what it did not. Well, Newsweek wrote that it confirmed the tallies as broadly accurate. Listen to that word, broadly accurate. Um, Broadly doesn't mean that it's exact, right? That means that it could be something else, okay? So broadly accurate. That sentence carries weight, but the reporting does not support the conclusion. The outlet did not receive internal documents. It lacked supplier confirmation and included no validation from as ever team. Instead, the assessment focused on whatever the technique appeared plausible, which is a fraudulently different claim. Now, Newsweek framed speculation as confirmation, while Royston amplified claims never verified by Meghan's team or internal data. The article acknowledges uncertainty, then proceeds as if uncertainty resolved. It notes that the sale price includes profit, yet still presents a headline figure that invites readers to treat it as inventory exposure. It cites a source familiar with the brand pushing back on narrative framing, then leaves the speculative number intact. That editorial choice matters because readers remember the figures, not the caveat. Royston social amplification sharpens the problem. His framing compresses method assessment into confirmation. That move turns a hypothesis into a headline. When journalists bridges that gap without primary evidence, the story becomes misleading even if every sentence contains a hedge. So contradictions revealed the motive. The contradictions reveal the motive. The reaction surrounding as ever exposes a basic contradiction that never gets resolved. The same critics claim that the brand lacks capital and relies on pre orders, then turns around and argues that it holds excessive unsold stock. Both positions cannot be true. A business cannot be cash strapped and overinvested in inventory at the same time. What is visible fits ordinary retail practice. Limited drop sales through quickly. Restocks follows once demand is clear. Quantity caps protect checkout items. Upfront payment is standard across e-commerce. Expanding inventory after early sale through reflects confidence and planning, not distress, particularly for a brand preparing for wider distribution. The persistence of the narrative owes less to evidence than to fixation. When products sell out, critics call it deception. When availability increases, they call it failure. The conclusion remains fixed. The facts are bent to match it. This episode did not reveal hidden data. It showed how a weak method gains traction when it reinforces an existing bias. Newsweek treated plausibility as verification, and Jack Royston amplified that leap. In the process, readers were left with a distorted picture of how e commerce works and what constitutes proof. As ever, performance warrants scrutiny rooted in verifiable documents, suppliers, and audited figures. Until that evidence exists, cart limits describe site rules, not inventory realities. Damn it. Anyway, thank you, Feminagra, for uh, sorting that out for us. Okay, so there you have it. Anything anything to go after Meghan. That appears to be it. Anything. They will take the most fragile thread and then they pull on it until it yields a result, usually something negative. Always going for the low road. Always going for the low road. That's what Jack Royston does for a living. God help that man. All right. So there you have it. Now, Jeannie Bond. Jeannie Bond. I have a sound bite for Jeannie Bond. She has come out with a little video. I believe she was on one of those programs. Anyway, I'll play this and then we'll discuss it on the other side.
As if Harry has been vindicated and Meghan now has a big decision to make. I'm talking about his long battle to have his security restored when he's here in the UK. And now the committee that oversees it, RAVEC, seems set to announce pretty soon that Harry does qualify for the level of security he had when he was a working royal. And I think it's the right decision. It's not as if he's asking us, the taxpayers, to pay for his security in the States. It's just when he's here, and nothing really has changed about his position. He's still the king's son, he's still fifth in line to the throne, and he's still a former army officer who served and killed in Afghanistan. Now, Harry's always said that the biggest obstacle in any reconciliation with his family is this security issue. So if that is removed, he would be free, one assumes, to come over whenever he felt like it. And I think most people would welcome a reunion between our old king and the son he always called my darling boy. I am less convinced that the public is ready for Meghan Part 2. Why court hostility when she's perfectly happy in California with her husband and children? I think that Harry probably should come over whenever he felt like it and show his children around, give them a peek behind the palace walls, and then go back to California and their lives there. I think it could work. It would be progress, and I hope it happens. It looks to me as if Harry has been vindicated and Meghan now has a big decision to make. I'm talking about his long battle to have his security restored when he's here in the UK. And now the committee that oversees it, RAVEC, seems set to announce pretty soon that Harry does qualify for the level of security he had when he was a working royal. And I think it's the right decision. It's not as if he's asking us, the taxpayers, to pay for his security in the States. It's just when he's here, and nothing really has changed about his position. He's still the king's son, he's still fifth in line to the throne, and he's still a former army officer who served and killed in Afghanistan. Now, Harry's always said that the biggest obstacle in any reconciliation with his family is this security issue. So if that is removed, he would be free, one assumes, to come over whenever he felt like it. And I think most people would welcome a reunion between our old king and the son he always called my darling boy. I am less convinced that the public is ready for Meghan Part 2. Why court hostility when she's perfectly happy in California with her husband and children? I think that Harry probably should come over whenever he felt like it and show his children around, give them a peek behind the palace walls, and then go back to California and their lives there. I think it could work. It would be progress, and I hope it happens.
You know, I had to listen to that twice. I didn't hear the part about the 6 words to Meghan that we discussed last time. Sometimes I feel like Jeannie Bond is speaking out of both sides of her mouth. And then sometimes I almost think that she is trying to help that institution save themselves, right? So there it is right there. Meghan issued 6-word warning amid Prince Harry's security review. Remember that? The 6-word warning. Let me see. Where is that at? The 6-word warning to Meghan. Was that yesterday? No. Oh. Oh, you know what? Okay. I got it here. It says, gosh, I have the article handy. Oh, yes. It says, I'd give the UK a miss, right? In a 6-word warning, Jeannie wrote that if I were Meghan, I'd give the UK a miss. Now, she says that she may not be the same, she may not be in the same physical danger, but she's more likely to be targeted uh, by verbal backlash than Harry, who still has a way of endearing himself to the crowds. So essentially, she's saying that unless Meghan wants to avoid being booed or jeered or receiving negative comments, that she had ought to stay home, that she should send Harry um and the kids, and that she should stay home. um I don't know if that's any level of concern. Are those words trying to protect the Cambridges from the embarrassment of the Sussex popularity? It's one thing to have Harry there by himself, right? But the Sussexes have had several successful trips abroad, whether they went to South America or they went to Africa or they have gone to Europe. They have had some, of course, Canada. Let's not forget Canada. They've had some very successful trips abroad. Now, yes, I get that England is very different because that is ground zero for the hate campaign, right? So that is something to consider. Is Jeannie Bond trying to be helpful? Does she not understand the connection between mother and child? Because if she understood that, then that would make it very weird. I mean, I don't know if she has children of her own, but that would be very weird for someone to suggest that a mother send their children to the country where she has been racially abused and just stay home, trusting only the father and the royal protection to deal with things. I don't think most mothers would accept that. I don't. I mean, it would make Meghan look like a coward. It would make Meghan look like a coward, which she is not. So, yeah, you know, it's just not good. It would not look good. April Love says they're fine with the kids now that they're white presenting. Thank you, April Love. So I believe what you're saying is because that their fears of having the kids of a wrong or unsuitable royal complexion, now that that seems to have been um you know obviously not realize that how dark the kids are going to be. Or remember, what's his name from what is it? Good Morning Britain. He said that someone asked him, the weatherman, Alex Beresford. He said someone asked him, "What shade of cocoa do you think your kids will be?" And I'm so disappointed that so many black people or people of dark complexions, whatever their heritage, that they were defending that by saying, "Oh, we talk about that in our family all the time." Well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should love the child regardless of their complexion. The speculation about a child's complexion, um, I can understand that in some cultures that might seem acceptable, but it makes me uncomfortable. So yeah, April Love, I suppose they would be relieved now, even though the royals tend to gravitate to as many brown people as possible whenever they're doing their walkabouts. It's odd that they would be so terrified of having someone of darker complexion in the family, but such is the contradictions of royal life, right? But thank you again for your comment. Okay. Let's see. Lex says, you won't see my you won't see my without I'm sorry. You won't see my children without their mother. How does he know they won't disrespect his kids without Meghan there? They just want to other they just want to other Meghan, treat his wife poorly and prove you can't behave otherwise. No place for kids. Yeah, no, that's no place for those kids to be. If they don't want me, this is why I'm so disappointed with Jeannie Bond. I was starting to see some sensibility with her, but this sets us right back to the first place. She is going right back to zero in my book. I don't like it. She should have never let that come out of her mouth. And the thing is, you don't know if she's speaking for other people. Is she speaking for the institution? Is that a warning from the institution for Meghan to stay home? They will spin it anyway. If she doesn't go, they will say that she is afraid of being booed and disrespected, and the UK people of the disrespecting the UK people. Um, if she shows up, how dare she come and use her kids as props? They are evil. That is a good point. Let me see. Not all skin folks are kin folks. The classism there have been turning their back on many of them. They're so they can make their way without being attached to others. Well, thank you, Lex. Let me see. Colorism tonight. I don't understand not being proud of your skin color. I never understood that. Um, Colorism has been such a big topic lately. And I don't know that I've ever heard so much conversation about it in my life than I have in the last few years. I don't know that I've ever heard that much conversation about it. Um, it's never been a issue for me, right? Um, and in my family, I mean, of course, there are people of every complexion in my family, And I don't recall that ever being a thing. I just don't recall that ever being a thing. I'm sure in some families it's definitely a thing. But yeah, I don't ever recall that being a thing in our household or among any of my relatives. And growing up, I've had uh, the experience of being around people who have been, um, I guess, bullied for being too dark. I've seen people that have been bullied for being too light. I've seen that from time to time. Um, and I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of naive or whatever. I never gave it much thought. I never gave it much thought. I look in the mirror, I look at my skin, and I'm just like, God, you're beautiful. And I'm done with it. I am done with it. And regardless of a person's complexion, I would say that I have seen people of every hue that I think is super attractive. Oh, this person is beautiful. That person is beautiful. Um, and because I had acne when I was a teenager, actually well into my 20s or early 30s, I was still suffering from acne. So to me, anybody who has beautiful skin, that's the first thing I notice. Um, I don't care how light or dark. If you have beautiful skin, I'm just like, gosh, you have beautiful skin. That's all, that's the first thing I notice about people is how clear their skin is. So other than that, I make no judgment one way or the other about the tone of it because, like Leg says, not all skin folks are kin folks. Thank you so much for your comment. Leg says trying to rehabilitate the cow and scapegoat Megan. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a no win situation for Megan, and as you say, no matter whether she stays or whether she goes, there will be something attached to it. And it seems like they want to know as soon as possible so that they can calibrate the attack. They want to calibrate the attack. They don't want to waste any ammo. They want to calibrate. Thank you for the super chat. Yes, it's a no-win situation for Megan. It really is. There's going to be some criticism either direction. But I just say don't expect her to stay home and send her kids. Oh, Gummy Big Tooth didn't. She came out with it first, and Jack just rewrote. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, and she owes the royal family nothing. She doesn't owe them anything. Thank you for that. Let me see. In the black community, we have always talked or been aware of colorism. We just didn't talk about it in public. Yeah, it's black people business. It really is. There are just some things that is black people business. Every ethnic group has their business, right? And Jewish people got their business. Italians had a business. Uh, everybody got their business. And something like that is black people business. It does not help the community to put it in a public forum the way that people have recently. Um, But it is something that has been a very emotional issue lately. I've seen groups where people have been brought to tears about being mistreated based on their complexion. And I know this to be true because I've seen it a lot where people ignore the fact that a biracial person or a person of a lighter complexion has been mistreated their entire lives by the community that they identify with. And it's almost as though um, they're not supposed to feel the same hurt because, after all, their complexion is more socially acceptable. They can get the best jobs, they can this and they can that. Well, that only happens because people keep feeding into the prejudice. People keep feeding into that bias. That's why that happens, because people feed into the bias. And as long as people do that, then there are going to be hurt feelings both ways. Too light, too dark, not black enough, not white enough, not this, not that. One of my grade school friends hit me up on Facebook about a month ago. And he was asking me, do I remember him? And I said, oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, I used to come to your house every morning and walk to school with you. And of course, that was God knows how many years ago. I don't have a lot of vivid memories at this point, but I do recall this. His mother was there when I arrived, and I pretty much just sat in the kitchen and waited for him to finish dressing or whatever. And then off we go. And I remember one day she had said to him the same thing that I saw on Gilded Age. And that was a warning about him staying out in the sun too much. She was worried that he's going to get too dark. She warned him about staying out in the sun too much. And I'm like, at the time, I didn't think much of it. But that's the only memory I have of his mother. I don't even remember what she looks like. I just remember that remark that she made. And then off we went. Now, I've never heard that in my household. Um, but that's the only memory. And I told him that. I said, the only thing I remember is that your mother told you to stay out of the sun. And I guess it must have meant something, because why do I still remember it? Probably because I thought it was odd. I'd never heard it before that day or something. I don't know. I may have been like in the fourth or fifth grade or something like that. And I just remember his mother saying that to him. Yeah, if we didn't feed into it, if we did not feed into it, treating a person of a darker complexion in a disrespectful way, or diminishing their talents based on their complexion, um, it's just like with the way that some people have a prejudice. I mean, even in the black community, there's a prejudice against people from Africa, right? And of course, vice versa, you always hear people say that Africans don't like Black Americans. And those divisions are not by accident. I think they're quite deliberate. I think that there's always someone in a position of leadership that likes to push one group against the other. And it's just the same as with early in the U.S. Even after slavery, with the emancipation of the slaves, you have all these people that are free, but socially they elevated the status of poor white people to create a division between poor whites and newly freed slaves. I mean, just there's always some unseen hand that benefits from bias and prejudice. Usually a politician, I'm sure. Oh my goodness, are you serious? I never heard that before. I never heard that before. Did you ever hear that about that lady whose mother um was white passing? She passed for white, which a lot of people, have done. They have passed for white, like Carol Channing, right? And so this woman, she married a white man, and her daughter said that she realized that her mother, I think her daughter had did the DNA test, and she confronted her mother about um, their ancestry. I believe she said she confronted her, or did she, or did the lady die before she can confront her? Anyway, she said that she always thought it was odd that her mother wore heavy makeup always, and that her mother um, avoided sunlight always. That was what she remembered, is that her mother wore heavy makeup all the time and she avoided sunlight. I mean, this lady was haunted by the idea that she would be exposed because of the one drop rule, of course. And look at there. Now we got a black pope. Now we got a black pope. Now we got bruh pope. What up, bruh pope? There needs to be more education. Sometimes parents do their best, but kids will go into the world with various experiences if they are not informed at a proper age. Yeah. You know, it's very interesting to me that someone like oh, what's the actress name? Um the one who say that she's the black Meryl Streep. Uh I mean, that's her words, not mine. Um, because of colorism, and this is a real thing, because of colorism, she had never heard anyone tell her she was beautiful until she went to college, I think it was. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Viola Davis. Um, I believe she said no one had ever told her she was beautiful until she went to college, right? And it was a white woman who told her that she was beautiful. That is not unusual. That is not unusual. Depending on the community that you come from. I don't just mean black community, but the geographic community. There are some places where there is more colorism within the black community than others, right? And I believe Viola Davis grew up. Did she grow up in New England? Is she from like one of the New England states? Well, anyway, um, she did not get a lot of support in her neighborhood from other black people. She did not get that level of support. So some black communities are more color struck than others. Oh, she's from South Carolina. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, it is a heated topic. It is a heated topic, and it seems to be more and more people talking about it more often. Support groups and town hall settings where people are talking about this very topic. Okay, she moved to Rhode Island. All right, I knew it was something about the North. I knew it was something about New England. Thank you for clarifying that for me. Not the phenotype. You better get out of here with these big words tonight, April Love. Now you know I'm doing the best I can. Get out of here with all these big words. What you trying to do? Give me a migraine? Huh? All these big words tonight. Look at you. Well, you know what? Yeah, and the thing is, um there's a lot of laws that did not exist before colonization. Um I mean, there were certain things they didn't even have a word for it until colonization happened. Certain things were outlawed because of colonization. Languages were banned, cultures were crushed because of colonization. And of course, uh, complexions, complexions, ethnicities, and such. You might have a situation. Well, I mean, we could look at the modern day Middle East. Saddam Hussein. I know this seems like a real stretch, but stay with me. Saddam Hussein. Now, they framed him as being the new Hitler and that he was this and that and all that kind of stuff. They really built the case to go to war. The greatest protection for the Christian community in Iraq and the Jewish community in Iraq was Saddam Hussein. Iraq was a very well educated country. They had a standard of living that was better than most of their neighbors. Somewhat modern, well, not somewhat modern, it was modern country. And now that the natural order of things has been interrupted, suddenly things have gotten very strict. About 1 million Christians have disappeared for whatever reason. They either fled or they were unalived, but they're gone, right? And so what was tolerated one day suddenly became illegal, or it became a stigma, or it became whatever, because of the US invasion of Iraq. That is how colonization can upset the order of things. So you may have a couple of religious sects that tolerate each other and have for a long time. You could have um, different cultures within a certain geographic region, and they have tolerated each other for 500, 1,000 years. But once the Europeans show up, once the British and the Americans and the French and all the other outside agitators show up, then all of a sudden, a bunch of hostility is brewing. And like with what was it? If I recall, it was the Hutus and the Tutsis. Is that right, in Rwanda, where the colonizers gave the smaller group a better education and more access to control the masses, right? You guys ever hear that before? And take the continent of India or the country of India. Well, it was a bunch of countries there. But when the British came, the East India Company and such, if that they already had a caste system, so I'm not going to blame that on the British. But that's what made it so easy to conquer India, was because of the caste system. Because they were used to having the untouchables and the aristocracy and such. It's so weird how they just fit into that perfectly. And even today, there is discrimination based on skin color. So it's not always the colonizers that bring the troubles, but they don't help. And in some cases, where there was no problems, they will bring a problem just to control people, pitting one side against the other. So anyway, um, let me see here. All right, a lot of interesting comments, you guys. Thank you so much for your input. Let me see. I was told to stay in the sun to get darker and no sunscreen. I think it is good for us to talk about it, and we need to deal with it between us first to heal, then other groups can heal with us. Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, that is a good way to look at it. Oh, I like that. God made all people. He's an artist for sure. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. So, again, Jeannie Bond, I just wanted to point out a few of the things that she said in the past. Jeannie Bond pointed out the double standard in reporting of Meghan and Kate wasn't on my bingo card, but she didn't lie. Um, you can't criticize everything Meghan does and say then demand kindness for Kate. Anyway, that was a comment that someone made. And I do remember that when that happened. I'm just like, wow, Jeannie Bond, I can really respect what she's saying. And then over there, Invictus game is the one thing the palace can't take away from Prince Harry, and he knows it. Okay, so she's, you know, bigging him up with that. Very cool. And then over here, Jeannie Bond, Kate and William can't ignore fury over new home, but things won't change. So a mild criticism for, you know, Willie Leaks and Kitty. And then over there, Will and Kate would prefer Andrew as neighbor over Harry and Meghan, claims royal commentator. Again, another Jeannie Bond. So just wanted to show you a few of the comments that she made in the past. Now, there is one that I did not like at all, and that was when she claimed that Diana had some kind of approval of Camilla. And I'm just like, okay, Jeannie Bond, you're going too far. This is why I say she talks out of both sides of her mouth. On some occasions, I think good for you, Jeannie Bond. It seems like you have a little integrity. And then other times she just completely uh lets me down. So take a look at this.
Don't have to take part, you don't have to watch it. Go to the beach, do something else. You have a choice. A lot of people are going to enjoy it. And I would just say about Camilla that I sat with Diana in her drawing room and talked about Camilla. And Camilla, in Diana's view, had been loyal, discreet, and deserved some form of recognition. Well, she's going to get it on Saturday. Well, she's going to get it on Saturday. Well, she's going to get it on Saturday. Well, she's going to get it on Saturday.
Yep, she definitely got it. That she had been loyal and discreet. Let me tell you something. There was a campaign by the British tabloid media in those weeks coming up to the coronation, like a well-oiled machine. Everybody had a role to play. Every royal rota, every reporter that reported on that institution, they all worked in concert together to promote the meaningful and necessary and inevitable relationship between Charles and Camilla, and how it was destiny, and how fate brought them together, and so on and so on and so on. Enters Jeannie Bond with this nonsense about what Diana said. At that point, to me, she was just another one of them. And this last thing that she said about Meghan, she's just another one of them. You really cannot teach an old dog a new trick. Clearly, you cannot. Those reporters will never change their ways. She has a knack for talking out of both sides of her mouth. She'll impress you just a little 1 minute and remind you who she is the next. She'll remind you where her paycheck comes from. I have no doubt that this stuff is coordinated, sanctioned by the palace. And Charles really went all out in his campaign to justify his coronation, to justify his adulterous affair being put on full display in front of the world in one of the most sacred religious institutions in all of the United Kingdom. And everybody was supposed to be very happy for them. There were still a lot of people who just did not tune in. who had no approval of Charles being king, and even worse, that Camilla person being the queen consort. But there was Jeannie Bond trying to help smooth things out for Camilla. What's in it for you? Those Fortnum and Mason bags go a long way. That's why, and I'm not saying that you know Jeannie Bond has been bought and paid for, but that is why Charles needs those Fortnum and Mason bags, because when stuff like this needs to be done, you need to have a way to do it without drawing attention. If you know, you know. Okay. If you know, you know. I'm not going to explain it no further than that. April Love says, Baron, what's your take on the PR team leaving? I'm team Meghan, but see on Reddit things get spun into something bad. I need a talking point. Um, I don't have a simple answer, but I just believe that the Sussexes have hired people for particular roles for X amount of time. And when that work is complete, then they leave. This person is hired for the rollout of this. This person is hired for the premiere of that. And then they're gone. It is nothing new under the sun. It's only the Sussexes that receive this type of scrutiny. Just as the Sussexes have the first look contract with Netflix. Okay, Netflix has moved away from the long-term commitment where you are exclusive with Netflix, right? It is an industry standard to have a first look contract. That is how the business works nowadays, right? Just like in the old days of Hollywood, you were contracted to a studio. And then at some point, actors became independent agents and they could shop around for projects to work on. And so, in the business world, especially where entertainment is concerned and they produce entertainment, and they also have the philanthropic side of things, they are not bringing on people to stay for years. They are not issuing medical insurance and 401ks. These people are working under contract for as long as they work. And that's the best answer I can give, is that those people are under contract. They have signed their non-disclosures. They have worked temporarily, and also better opportunities exist for everyone. I don't care if you're working for Harry and Meghan. I don't care if you're working for the British royal family. Whoever you're working for, opportunities present themselves. Nobody stays on a job like they used to. So that is also a factor. But there's no simple answer that will suffice where the Derangers are concerned, because they want to believe the worst. So, yeah, I mean, best I could say is, if you're armed with enough of those stories about Kate losing people and people moving on and such, that is the only way I know to deflect from it, is to just keep sharing those stories, to go tit for tat with them. But yeah, there's just no simple way to explain it, because they don't want to believe it. They won't accept that, and it's unfortunate. It's a real disadvantage for the Sussexes, because you have an entire media that is spreading the news about a staff person moving on. I honestly don't know why that is newsworthy. This person has left. That person has left. They say nothing negative about the Sussexes, and yet it is still a big story. And it's only because it involves Harry and Meghan. It is only because it's clickbait. It's enough to feed into that visceral response from people looking for something negative. You know, I don't like the tone of Jack Royston, so I usually avoid him. I don't like the tone of Tom Sykes. I was trying to give him a chance to do the right thing. And now I avoid him. If I see him, it's because I've seen him on some other platform, from a Sussex friendly platform. So we can pick and choose to avoid that stuff. But the Derangers, they run to it. They have more invested in being hostile toward Harry and Meghan than they have to celebrate Will and Kate, Charles and Godzilla. They make that investment to read and listen to all things negative about the Sussexes. And even the professor, I believe the professor mean well. Um, the one that looked like Santa Claus. But he doesn't, as intelligent as he doesn't even recognize the gaslighting. He almost repeats word for word what the tabloids say, ignoring ignoring the fact that Harry is going to court against the Daily Mail very soon. That is something that should be mentioned every time the professor reads an article and shares the information from the Daily Mail, and he just won't do it. I'm amazed at how many people take the words of the tabloids as gospel. Just because it's well written does not mean that it's accurate. Very frustrating. But when people are in pursuit of information, they get lazy and they just go to the easiest source. And then sadly, they tend to repeat it word for word. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, why didn't Jason Knopf testify? Yes, it's apples to oranges. Harry and Meghan's circumstance is very different from the rest of that family. Harry and Meghan, I'm going to say this again. I just said it yesterday. I'm going to say it again. The fact that the Sussexes have had all of these very successful trips abroad without the Home Office, without the palace, with a team that they put together, it doesn't matter how many people come and go, right? That is the talking point for me. It doesn't matter how many people come and go. The Sussexes have had one successful quasi royal tour after the next without any disruption, without any controversy. I mean, flawlessly executed these trips abroad. Nigeria, Colombia, and then also Dusseldorf, The Hague, Canada. All of these trips, let's even just throw in there Jamaica. They went to Jamaica to support a movie. They got in, they got out without incident. And I don't ever see those people give them any credit for getting it right without a $500 million a year monarchy behind them. These are two people and their staff living off of their wits. If anything, of course, they would never acknowledge this, but you literally have a monarchy and a government telling other governments do not support them. They're doing this in spite of the fact that there are people putting an evil eye on them. And they've had all these successful tours. And Will and Kate go to the Caribbean and got their asses handed to them with all of the weight of the monarchy. They completely failed. How about them apples? How about them oranges? Failures they were. Yeah, he doesn't like Meghan. He tolerates Meghan. He does not like Meghan. He tolerates Meghan. And sometimes he can barely withhold his hostility against her. It is a very mild hostility, but I think it exists. But that is something to think about. That is definitely something to think about. I am always impressed at the way the Sussexes have maneuvered in spite of all of the stuff going against them. And don't forget, they went to Dusseldorf for the countdown to the Invictus Games, right? They went for the countdown of the Invictus Games. And then a year later, the games happened. And that was a bit of a royal tour because it wasn't limited to the Invictus. Meghan went to that cafe place for homeless youth. And I think it was a couple of other places they branched out to. Successful. So when the press is co-signing the criticism of Harry and Meghan for the disarray of their office, I think that is just so grossly exaggerated. They have successfully traveled abroad without any great security mishaps, with the cooperation of a lot of people that ignored the palace. And they get no credit for it. They get absolutely no credit for it. Which is why it's best to not announce these trips until you absolutely have to. Because if you announce it in advance, you give those people the opportunity to sabotage it. Okay, Buckingham Palace issues explanation after true use of royal helicopter emerges. So they got a way to explain it. Just like Ricky Ricardo, they're going to explain. Lucy, let me explain. Lucy, let me explain. They're going to explain it. They're going to mansplain it. Let me see. Buckingham Palace has defended the royal family and one of their modes of transportation after reports emerged that their helicopter fleet racked up tens of thousands of miles in less than a year. Again, I don't even care. I don't even care. But you know what? Since they're so hypercritical of the Sussexes, I am so glad that this is happening. Buckingham Palace has defended the way the royal family often travels after it was reported that the helicopter fleet has flown an extraordinary 58,000 miles in 9-month period. The firm pair of new August Westland 139 helicopters, which entered service at the beginning of 2025, are said to have flown select members of the monarchy, the equivalent of twice around the world in less than a year. Flight records reveal the aircraft accumulated 420 hours, which is more hours than William has worked since 2011, in the air between February 25th and the end of November, with at least one helicopter taking to the skies on 142 of the 279 days during that period. William. In response to the findings reported by the Telegraph, a spokesperson for Buckingham Palace said that the helicopter allowed the royals to easily reach remote places and undertake multiple royal duties in one day, streamlining travel for maximum impact. Of course, that's what they're going to say. Helicopters are a key component to the royal travel plan due to their unique capability to access remote regions of the UK, which are not otherwise readily served by the other modes of transportation. The spokesperson said they also allow members of the royal family to undertake multiple engagements in a given day. The Mirror has also contacted Buckingham Palace for comment. Princess Anne was the most frequent user of the new helicopter fleet, with flights data showing 68 stops at her Cat Corn on the Cob Park residence in Gloucestershire, reflecting her consistently high number of public engagements throughout the year. You guys, I promise you I don't care about this. But I'm glad that it's happening for them because they need some criticism. It's really not a big deal. They got the helicopters to use them. And, like the Queen says, I must be seen to be believed. And, it's unfortunate that I feel obliged to attack them about this because of the mistreatment of the Sussexes. I really wouldn't mind if I did not have this obligation. But if you go mess with my people, I'm going to mess with yours. And that's just the way it is. But I wish it was not a thing. I really do wish that this was unnecessary. I wish there was no hate campaign against the Sussexes. All I wanted was a distraction from that person in the White House. That's all I wanted. And I saw that Harry and Meghan were getting married. I didn't know anything about Meghan, so I learned a lot about her in a short time. And I thought I would spend the next few years of my life just enjoying them building a relationship and the world getting to know Meghan and all that. And I feel like that was taken away from me by the likes of Will and Kate and Charles and Godzilla and the whole Royal Rota and the courtiers and such. And anyway, since that's the way it is, then I have to point out all of the deficits with that institution and those family members. It's called oppositional research, and I'm getting to be quite good at it. So here we are. Leave my people alone, I'll leave yours alone. But until then, que sera, sera. Yep. Until then, que sera, sera. Where I come from, they say if you don't start none, there won't be none. It really is unnecessary to use those helicopters so much. It's the tabloids that actually have presented maps that show that they could have driven maybe 30 minutes, or they could have taken a helicopter. And then a lot of times when they take the helicopter, guess what? There is a Range Rover waiting to greet them, a Range Rover that was driven to that location. That's the part of the story that they ignore, is that, like, William took the train one day, right? But when he got there, the helicopter was waiting to take him back. Mr. Environmental Warrior William will take a train to be greeted by a helicopter. Make that make sense. Oh, thank you, Cookies and Cream. Now, with that article, I couldn't help but notice something. Do you see what's in the door of the helicopter? Why, it's an issue of the Telegraph. Yes, it's an issue of the Telegraph. A lot of the images of the royals exiting the helicopter or entering the helicopter, you're going to see tucked in the door is the collection of the daily tabloids ready for their consumption. They have them ironed and pressed and ready to read right there in the door of the helicopter. Okay, Telegraph says Prince Harry hasn't booked his flight to the UK for his trial. How do they know that? How in the world do they know that? Well, apparently, they seem to believe, the Telegraph, they seem to believe that Harry hasn't booked a ticket yet. As a matter of fact, they even say that he has some obligations in the U.S. No mention of what they were. See there, Prince Harry hasn't booked his flight to the UK for his mail trial. All right, so it says Prince Harry. This is from Celibacy. Prince Harry is due to spend a few days at least in the UK this month. He is one of 7 plaintiffs suing the publishers of the Daily Mail, and the trial begins on January 19th. The Telegraph believes that Harry will be in London for the start of the trial and will be the first or one of the first to testify or give evidence, as I think is called in the UK. The Telegraph also has some curious inside information, including the tea that Harry hasn't booked his flight yet and that Harry is not going to see his father. According to Celibacy, how in the world does the Telegraph know that Harry hasn't booked his flight? That's the kind of information which is closed hold from Team Sussex due to the security situation in the UK. My guess is that the Telegraph has a connection with various airlines and airports and that they're able to track Harry's movements that way. As for Harry not seeing his father, in Queen Elizabeth II's day, she would have stayed at Sandringham until early February every year. Charles mixed it up, and for some reason, he likes being in Scotland in the dead of winter. But whatever, Harry is busy, and of course, he's not going to travel to Scotland or go out of his way to his dad. what else? I don't think the mail will settle. So Harry and the other plaintiffs are probably being told to hang in there and stay ready. So, yeah, it looks like they're not going to settle until the trial actually starts. And then who knows, maybe something will change. But for now, there is no settlement. They are going to trial. Anyway, thank you, Celebici. All right, what else we got? Oh, Separate Lives. Do you guys remember that movie? Huh? With actually it was a movie and then there was the album by oh no, the movie was called White Nights, right? But the album from Phil Collins and Marilyn Martin, remember that duet? You called me from the room of your hotel, all full of romance for someone that you met, and telling me how sorry you are for leaving so soon, and that you miss me sometime when you're alone in your room. Do I feel lonely too? You have no right to ask me how I feel. You have no right to speak to me so kind. I love that song. That was a great song. Um, but yeah, so there's the Phil Collins version of Separate Lives, and then there's Will and Kate. Now, Prince William hires Princess Diana's lawyer in surprise break from King Charles. That happened April of 2025. How come I don't remember that? How come I don't remember that? Yes. Um, Now they are framing it that William, and by the way, why do they need Harry in the picture? This is about William, not Harry. But anyway, um, People magazine, including both William and his brother Prince Harry, the case led to the outlet's closure. I don't know why they put that in there, but so is he planning to divorce Kate? Why is he hiring that type of lawyer? Why is he hiring divorce lawyers? Does Kate know he is hiring divorce lawyers? This is not looking good for their marriage. I know my wife would be terribly upset to hear I just hired a large firm of divorce lawyers. Another person commented, let's see, Paulo Sussex Squad says, using Diana's divorce lawyer isn't symbolism or branding, it's a deliberate legal choice. When the same firm handles separations, it raises one obvious question. Why is the press reframing a marital signal as a father-son narrative? That's not reporting, it's shielding. It is shielding. Well, the reason why this has come up again is because of that picture on the right side. You have those kids with their overnight bags. It seems as though their father has flown them to Kensington Palace, right? While Kate uh, possibly stays behind at Royal Lodge with Louis. Why is that? It's just like when the Christmas Carol, the Royal Carol, or whatever they call it, the Christmas Carol. When Kate arrives at the Westminster Abbey, she's by herself. And then William shows up with the kids later on. It's not that they're in the next car, they are literally coming from someplace different, as far as I can tell. Now they leave together. Nope, I take that back. Do they leave together? Well, anyway, They never arrived together. In the past 3 years, they have not arrived together. Why is that? And I mean, like, Kate goes inside and comes back out to greet her husband and children at the Christmas Carol, as though they were staying someplace else. It's not like Kate got there hours early. She's only gotten there about 20 minutes earlier. I always thought that was kind of weird. She doesn't arrive with one of the kids. She arrives by herself. Why is it necessary for her to make an entrance by herself unless the kids were with their father? They love to say Harry and Meghan living separate lives, but it's always deflection for the unmarried fake couple. William and Kate are done. Their kids moving back and forth, but they're desperate to keep selling the perfect image. Now, report on this, people. I almost slipped and said it. Yeah, now report on this, y'all. Sussex squad is kind of feisty, ain't they? I know. I wouldn't want to be on their wrong side. Of course, this is all alleged. We don't know whether or not the Welleses are still married or not. We don't know if they live in separate residence or not. We just know that there is a pattern of movement that calls into question who's zooming who. But they need to stop projecting the Welleses' unhappy lives onto the Sussexes. Yeah, leave Harry and Meghan out of it. Lex says, Heir and spare. Will don't take Louis to events either. I've noticed that. Louis doesn't ever seem to be invited, which is strange. I mean, there are plenty of occasions where all royals are present, so it cannot be an issue of security. Why leave Louis behind? Liv says, Nashers is lying again. It's breaking news. Miserable Mavis wasn't there, and she's been called out on her lies and has doubled down and said it's just the context. It's not the actual video. She's so excited to see them again. Liar. Now, this is interesting. One of the derangers shared the video of Kate arriving at Kensington Palace without William. And what she was trying to say is that they made it look like Kate showed up later on, right? Like Kate was invited to the party at Kensington Palace. This video is a fake. Well, okay, it's not fake, but the timing is not right. Look at how small the children are. See, they're breaking. Prince William and Princess Catherine and the kids were seen at Kensington Palace by helicopter today. So exciting to watch them again. You see that word there? Okay, just throw that word in there and say, that ain't true. That ain't true. You making it up. She was trying to pass this off as Kate showing up later on. Nothing of the sort happened. Okay. Okay. Nothing of the sort happened. You see this? Take a look at that. That is the actual occasion that she shared. The Cambridges, not the Welleses, the Cambridges visit Cardiff on Jubilee weekend, and a new video has emerged revealing how they got to the party at Buckingham Palace so quickly from the Welsh capital. They took a helicopter, the same helicopter, and Kate wearing the same red coat. But the thing is, when she shared this video, she made sure that there was no image of William in the video. See there? Tried to make it seem like they got there a little later, right? Like Kate showed up later. Someone says the imbecile here is trying to sell an old video to give the feeling they were all together, but they were not. It was William, Charlotte, and George, minus Kate, minus Louis. Hello. Hello. Caller, are you there? Hello. Hello. Zandy Sussex says, for your entertainment, when your lies are so bad that even your fellow derangers call you out for posting a 4-year-old video and pretending it's from a recent custodial visit. Not the custodial visit. I love it. Oh, that's shady. Look at there. Guys, I think if a mistake happens, we don't need to create posts and call out others' accounts. Let's have some consideration that we make mistakes and it's okay. Breaking. William and Princess Catherine. See there? It went from that to, guys, I think if we make mistakes, she went from glee to cleanup, right? Breaking. Prince William and Princess Catherine and the kids were seen at Cambridge Palace by helicopter today. So exciting to watch them again. And that went from that to, guys, I think if we make mistakes, dummy. Look at her trying to be slick. I think if mistakes happen, we don't need to create posts and call out other accounts. Let's have some consideration that we make mistakes and it's okay. Is it okay? Is it okay? Or was it ruthless and sneaky and you got caught? That's the only thing is she got caught. Busted. Busted, disgusted, and can't be trusted. Guys, if we make mistakes, that wasn't a mistake though. You did that on purpose. That was deliberate. That was deliberate. That was a little sleight of hand and you got caught. That's all. All of a sudden, she going to post a video where George and Charlotte are half the size because it was 4 years ago. Dummy.
Hey, girl, sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
Yes, girl, sit down. Sit down. You got busted. The Sussex squad. Well, let me put you like this. The Sussex squad sees everything. You can't put nothing over on us. That's the Sussex Squad Detective Agency. Excuse me. Guys, I think it's if we make a mistake. I'm sorry, no. If a mistake happens, we need we don't need to create posts and call out other accounts. Let's have some consideration that we make mistakes and it's okay. We make mistakes and it's okay. What is this, romper room? Huh? Is this Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Is this one of those life lessons that you get from a kid show? I mean, that's just too. I mean, it's not even sophisticated at all. George looks shorter than it's actually is. This video is years old, actually. Yeah, this is not the video. It's just the news. It's not the video. It's just the news. Now, mind you, that is one of the derangers. George looks shorter than it actually is. This video is years old. And then she goes on, just an update. This is just news, not the actual video. You think so? You think so? Right. When was the last time we saw Charlotte wearing those little Bobby socks? And little Debbie patent leather, those little Debbie's snack cake patent leather shoes. And then you see Patricia Watts says, this video is from 2022 or 2023. Yeah, it's old as hell. I think it is hilarious and quite dumb. Very dumb.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Now, living apart is probably the best for the Windsor kids, shared a third commentator. Others dismissed the theory of a marital crisis, simply writing, you conspiracy theorists are crazy. Now, SK says, even the dogs know the drill. It's William's week with the children, and he can only manage the older ones. There they go with their overnight bags. But we've been saying this all along. Kate and William live separate lives behind closed doors. Cosplay marriage just for the cameras. How interesting. How curious. By the way, all of this information is alleged. We don't know anything for certain. We just know what it looked like. We don't know for sure, but we just know what it looks like. Video of Prince William and kids in snow fuels marriage rumors. It certainly does. Video of Prince William and kids landing at Kensington Palace sparks separation rumors. Yes, it does. And take a look there on the right side. There's an article from January 14th, 2025. Kate Middleton ditched her engagement ring for this relatively subtle alternative. And why did she do that? The reason why she did that is because you call me from the room of your hotel, all full of romance, for someone that you met, and telling me how sorry you are for leaving so soon, and that you miss me sometimes when you're alone in your room. Do I feel lonely too? You have no right to ask me how I feel. You have no right to speak to me so kind. So I go on, just holding on to time. Now that we're living separate lives. Yes, that's the chorus. Now that we're living separate lives. You know, that song's going to be in my head all day, don't you? Ooh, it's so difficult. Love leads to isolation. So you build that wall. Yes, they build a wall and they take helicopters. As Jonathan Dean once says, my God, I can't wait until the papers can talk about Prince William freely. Yes, Jonathan Dean said that back in 2021, that he cannot wait until we can talk about William freely. That's because there's a lot to be said. There's a whole lot of information there, but we dare not speak of it publicly because it could really cause problems for that institution, especially when they find out that the king is surrounded by beards. Surrounded by beards, real and imagined beards, surrounded by him. Anybody with a full head of hair and a beard seems to fit nicely into the royal household, the Wellses royal household. And by moving to that country pile called Forest Lodge, they will be able to have the necessary privacy needed so that most people won't catch on to the fact that you call me from the room of your hotel, all full of romance for someone that you met, and telling me how sorry you are for leaving me so soon, and that you miss me sometimes when you're alone in your room. Should I feel lonely too? You have. Oh, man. Let me just get to the chorus. Now that we're living separate lives. Now that we're living separate lives. That was a great song. That was a great song. They should have played it at that 2011 wedding. It's going to happen eventually anyway. They just don't get along with each other. William likes to blame other people, I suspect, for all of his shortcomings. And that's why I believe that it wasn't going to work out from the beginning. It wasn't like he had a lot of respect for her. How could you respect somebody that's sitting around and wait 10 years for you to ask them a question? Oh, probably the same way somebody took, 10 years to come up with 5 questions? Or was it 20 years? Did it take Kate 20 years to come up with 5 questions? And it took William 10 years to It took William 10 years to come up with 1 question. And it took Kate 20 years to come up with 5 questions. William's question was, will you marry me? And Kate's 5 questions was something to do with the early years or the shape of us or something like that. Those are a few questions. How could just 6 questions take combined 30 years, right? Do y'all know Kate Middleton has been hanging around that family for over 20 years? Over 20 years, Kate Middleton has been hanging around that family, and she still dresses like crap. She is unable to inspire a room full of people with her speaking. What else? She has no girlfriends. She does not tolerate other women. A big fat nothing burger. They wanted someone that they could control, someone without much personality of their own. And so, what did they get? Kate Middleton, which is why it's so unfair to Kate to constantly compare her to Meghan. There is no comparison. There really is no comparison.
Reasons Catherine is so popular amongst certain demographics, and I'm going to say older people and men, is because she says absolutely nothing. Yeah. She's a good little girl who keeps quiet and doesn't complain, doesn't do anything, doesn't rock the boat, and is a very traditional, old-fashioned mute woman.
An old-fashioned mute woman. What she does best is to say nothing. And what she does most is do nothing. She says nothing and she does nothing. And I believe that a very wise songwriter, was it Mr. Billy Preston, who said, nothing from nothing leads to nothing. And you got to have something if you want to be with me. I think Brother Billy Preston once said that. Oh, thank you for that clarity. Providence, Rhode Island. Thank you very much for that. Greatly appreciate it. Okay, an old-fashioned mute woman. Now, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, very keen to help with key work. I don't like it. And then over here on the right, it says the smallest of gestures exchanged between the Wellses children tell the biggest story of our emerging monarchy. I don't like it. I feel as though those children are being, is objectified too strong a word? That they have become commodities? Is that okay to say? Is it infantilization? Is that too strong a word? Is that the wrong word? Either way, I don't like it. I feel like those kids are being thrust into this work as though they know nothing from the experiences of Harry and his dim-witted brother. I don't care for their parents. That's evident. I don't care for their parents. I wouldn't bother with Will and Kate no further than I could throw them. However, those children are truly innocent. And I just hate to see them being consumed by this institution. I know, I love that song. Yeah, that's it. How do you guys feel about it? I just don't like it. I feel weird. I feel weird about it. Um it's like watching a tragedy. I mean, we've learned a lot from child actors and from, well, children of other very famous high profile people. There are ways to get it right. The press is not going to say enough is enough. The press are not going to encourage discipline. They're not going to decide we have enough. Let's step back. Let's leave those kids alone. When they go to the Royal Christmas Carol thing, we see the children step out of the vehicle and go and put those things on the Christmas tree and then go inside to the concert. What we don't see is a wall of cameras, a whole wall of cameras. That's what we don't see. Now, I must admit, George seems to have relaxed a great deal more. About this time, let's say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, George looked like he was going to wet his pants. So I am relieved to see that he's more comfortable. Charlotte has always um, been a model of decorum when it comes to her public image. But the fact that I'm even discussing this is unfortunate. But there they are. I don't have a lot to add to it. I'm just going to leave it alone. I definitely don't want to say too much. I just feel sad. That's all. I just feel sad for them. Hazel says, I feel sorry for those kids. They went from recoiling from a disabled child to hugging random strangers. I feel they were harsh to them after Wimbledon. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of responsibility that they're placing on these kids. And it's not just the responsibility of acting in the public, but because of how dull Will and Kate are, they are going to need these kids to carry the monarchy. They're going to have these kids to carry the monarchy. That's what I fear for them, is that increasingly they are going to expect those kids to be an example of the future of the monarchy, the future of the United Kingdom, and that they're going to put more and more weight upon their little shoulders to carry the institution. Yeah. Um, I say this to some degree, they're going to have to prepare the kids. And I do mean all of the children, because even if Archie and Lily did not have any titles. They are never, ever going to be just a couple of kids. They're always going to be a curiosity to the public. And I use the example of John Kennedy because even though his mother led a more private life, they never went away. And even though he was a kid, they never went away. The press was always there. They were always there. There was money to be made from the Kennedy family. Now, as you can see, they don't really pursue Carolyn Kennedy, but her brother, who looked like something carved out of marble 1,000 years ago, obviously was going to draw a lot of attention. And he did. And he did not disappoint. However, they weren't so interested in Carolyn Kennedy. I wonder why. I think it was the washboard abs. Let's just say what it is. It was the washboard abs. It was the incredible physique and the washboard abs that drew them to John. Also, I will say in defense of Harry and Meghan, the event where the Sussex children visited the place with their parents, that place is known for children, actually for families, entire families volunteering, right? Entire families volunteered that place. I have the photos to back it up. If you remember, I shared that a couple weeks ago. Entire families will volunteer there. So it's not like it was just Archie and Lily. On that occasion, it may have just been the two kids, but on other occasions, they had multiple families. It is a place where families interact and volunteer routinely. So let me just say that in the Sussex's defense. Oh, Legs. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Yes. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Get them out of California so we can snap those pictures. I got you. I got you. And you know what? That explains a lot. That is why they constantly complain about not seeing the children's faces. That's why they keep complaining. Because of that frustration they have. Because of that California law. Huh, okay. Creepy royalists obsess over royal children. What is that? Was it gawping and taking photos? The monarchy is what it says there. We kids don't get to choose the course of their own lives, being forced into the spotlight with deep dives into their every awkward move traumatizes them. And then over here it says supposedly modern 21st century Britain in one truly appalling image in which a man bows to a child. Now, I cannot say that this absolutely happened because this is just an image I found. I didn't research the image. I mean, I have no reason to believe it's not real, but I'm just saying the authenticity of it, I have not established. However, it may very well be a real picture. Either way, if that did happen, that is disgusting. A child should stay in a child's place. I don't care if they are royal. They need to stay in their lane. Now, we're going to end it soon. 2026 plan. Delete negative people. I don't mean delete. I mean get rid of them. Accept your mistakes. Forget your past. Restart your life. Shall we do that again? 2026 plan. Delete negative people. Accept your mistakes. Forget your past. Restart your life. Again, delete negative people. Accept your mistakes. Forget your past. Restart your life. It's never too late to start over. Where there's life, there's hope. Don't forget that. Next, weather stone. If the stone is wet, the forecast is raining. If the stone is dry, it's not raining. If it's warm, it's sunny. If the stone is white, it's snowing. If it's blurry, it's foggy. Tipping, windy. Bouncing, it's an earthquake. If the stone is missing, well, hell, it was a tornado. 100% accurate. Next. This is like a metaphor for life. Pay attention. This is like a metaphor for life. You see that stone in the middle? It says, I used to be a mountain. I believe that metaphor is the bigger you are, the harder you fall. That metaphor is saying that no matter how big and bad you are, you can be cut down to size and put inside of a sidewalk, the side of a building. I don't know. They could use you for a whole lot of stuff. But your future is not guaranteed. You can be as big as a mountain and then cut down to the size of a building block. So that is why that stone says, I used to be a mountain, and now you're not. There you go. It's an interesting metaphor. Let me see what else I got. Oh, yes. One of the squatties shared this prayer with me. So if you want to join us, you can. If not, I would say goodnight to you. But it says, in this month, God will bless me. God will crown me. God will guide me. God will heal me. God will restore me. God will select me. God will promote me. God will position me. God will connect me. God will announce me. God will congratulate me. God will distinguish me. I'd say amen. And with that, you guys, I'm also going to say good night. Do remember to pray for our sister beloved, Elaine Parker, who's been under the weather the past few days. So make sure you keep her in your prayers. Also, do pray for Jerry, who lost her sister recently. Her sister has been ill for some years, and Jerry, who is very much older herself, actually was taking care of her sister. I mean, miraculously, she found the strength. Now, mind you, Jerry was still able to do her garden and everything until a few years ago. And then she found herself having to care for her sister. So it was a labor of love. She was very close to her sister. They actually bought homes side by side to each other. So give you an idea of how close they were. So do keep her in your prayers. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Hazel Jones, thank you. Oh, Hazel Jones, I wanted to run something past you. If you have a moment, give me just a second. I have been a little bothered by these comparisons with Prince Harry and the Duke of Windsor. Now, there are people that say that the Duke of Windsor was prevented from entering the UK without prior permission, right? And that this whole thing with the royal protection is a way of using that same type of influence on Harry's visits to the UK. I think it's very different because the Duke of Windsor, wasn't he receiving an allowance of some sort or a settlement for his abdication? I mean, there's a variety of reasons why the Duke of Windsor, Edward the, what was he, Edward the Eighth or whatever? There's a variety of reasons why he was so different from Harry. Number one, he was king. He was a king who abdicated. And then when he abdicated, he actually sold Balmoral and Sandringham back to the crown. Back, well, not to the crown estate, but it was his personal property that he inherited, right? And then he sold it back to his brother, who became king. So that right there is very different. Also, part of the financial arrangement probably meant he had to ask for permission to come and go. Harry doesn't have that type of financial arrangement. Whatever financial arrangement that they had, they reneged on it, and so it was no longer applicable. So Harry is able to come and go as he chooses. And so because they didn't have any of those constraints, they decided to use security against him. Do you think that is accurate? Do I have that right? That's what I wanted to run past you. Is the Duke of Windsor, his visits were very different because he was a sovereign. And because of that, he's a sovereign entering a kingdom which now has a new sovereign. Okay, he was receiving an allowance. He also tried to undermine his brother and niece. He took loose stones, etc. Harry has none of that. Thank you, Hazel. I knew that you would have the answer, but he did have an allowance. So that is an excellent reason why he would need to ask for permission. Maybe there was something in the agreement where they could cut off his money. Well, Harry is financially independent of those people, so he doesn't have to worry about that. All he needs is his royal protection. And that's why they tried to take it away from him so they can control his visits so that they wouldn't be upstaged by the Duke of Sussex. I knew you would have the answer. Thank you so much for that. Very different circumstances. All right, you guys, then I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you all so much. Ingrid Soares, I didn't know you were here. Let me see. The royals say that they wanted to distance themselves because of the Nazis. However, I think that many of the monarchs are very jealous of any attention that other royals may receive. They want focus on them. You know, I don't know how much I ever really believe that whole thing with the Nazis. You know, I'm sure that, I mean, there's obviously films of them visiting and such, but there were a lot of people in the UK that were Nazi friendly up until a point. Wasn't he just one of them, or was there something more diabolical going on? I don't know. It's just that since he can no longer defend himself, isn't it interesting how they found more evidence after he died, right? There was more evidence all of a sudden. And the reason why I'm reluctant to believe the palace's side of things or the government side of things is because of the way they constantly have built this case against Diana, who has been deceased for how long has it been? 25, 30 years? She's been deceased all this time, and yet they are continuing to build a case against her. Why are they building a case against her? They have everything they want. They have that old leather handbag consort, right? Charles is king. They've hired her dressmaker. They've visited her favorite places, and even the mockery of joining a or chairing some kind of women's shelter or whatever. I mean, they've done everything to Diana they can, dead or alive. They've done it all, and yet they still feel a need to go after her. Character assassination, continuous character assassination. Let's see. Well, he was a Nazi and he was the one teaching Elizabeth. I saw the video. Yes, I saw that video. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, I guess that was his ticket back to the throne, huh? Was to have them install him as the king. Yeah, that could have gotten ugly. That really could have gotten very ugly. Yeah, they said Diana sowed the seeds of her disaster by refusing security. Oh my God, it's 4 a.m. Good night, y'all. Y'all know it's 4 a.m. in Chicago. Good night. I just looked at the clock, like, oh my God, it's 4 a.m. All right, I'm going to say good night. Love you guys. See you next time.